I think the streamer space on Twitter is one of the most entertaining things that you could scroll through. I know it's eye roll inducing, and sometimes you could get more annoyed than seek value from it or gain value from it, I guess. But when you get those golden little nuggets from streamer Twitter, it's hilarious, dude. And I'm of course talking about that. I don't even know what her name is or who she is, but there's this whole tweet talking about how it's annoying when people come through and ask how the streamer's doing. I know that people have been getting mad at literally every little thing, especially since we are in the time that we're in. But how the heck are you gonna get annoyed at someone asking about your well-being? I understand that you may get annoyed in the minutia and the repetition of formalities, but they're formalities. It's just being polite. You get what I'm saying? I just found it so damn hilarious that streamers are finding every little aspect of streaming to complain about on top of SUBtember. And I actually really want to get into that, but before we do, welcome everybody to the Punched podcast, where yours truly has a lot to say about nothing. This is episode 9, and I guess I should say and announce right now that episode 10 is going to be pretty special. See, originally Punched was conceived as a entirely live show on Twitch in which I interviewed every streamer I pretty much came across. So anybody who interacted with me, anybody who was part of the communities that I was in, I was just trying to get out there and network and make as many friends as I possibly could with that first iteration of Punched. And as much as I had fun with it, as much as it helped me with just speaking my mind and being able to interview peeps, like being able to conversate in general, I think that the chat aspect of it was much more of a distraction than a feature. So I decided that maybe I should do them offline and post them somewhere. It unfortunately didn't work out that way. I don't even know what happened. I just decided to not go with just the interview route. I feel like interviews should be a part of the show. They're an interesting aspect of every show, in my opinion, because you get to see other people's opinions and kind of get to dissect how others people's brains work, you know what I mean? Pick it apart and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like going all zombie and consuming people's thoughts for sustenance. But not really. All right. Without further ado, I would like to announce that our friend and fellow Twitch streamer Plantain Trip will be our first guest on the Punch podcast starting next week on episode 10. Or rather, not next week, but the week following after that. You know what I mean. He's going to be our first guest on the next episode. But that's episode 10. Right now we're on 9, and as much as I would love to talk about Plantain, he's not here yet for me to interview. So we're going to go ahead and backtrack back to SUBtember, because that's what we were talking about before I went on this whole intro side tangent. In case you're not familiar with SUBtember or that familiar with Twitch, a couple years ago when the affiliate the affiliate role, whatever you want to call it, was released, that same year in September they held their very first SUBtember. Essentially, it was this huge promotion where Twitch offered half off to every single subscription on Twitch, and that included gift subscriptions. The way subs work on Twitch, essentially you get half of the money. So like people can pay for a $5 subscription, but you would only get $2.50. During SUBtember, the viewer would only have to pay $2.50, and we would still get the full $2.50 we would normally get. Again, we as in streamers. Last year, it was only to new subscriptions, so the discount was only applied to new subscriptions, and you could apply it to continuing a subscription. So let's say you are already a part of somebody's channel and you wanted to take advantage of SUBtember, you can extend, or you could have extended your sub for the following month for that half off price. And again, the streamer themselves would also get the full price they would normally get. Now, this year, people started making a huge fuss. People started making a big deal about everything because it is now limited to solely new subscribers. Pretty much the entirety of streamer Twitter came at Twitch saying stuff like, or asking stuff like, why can't we reward viewers that have been there for however long? Why is this only a benefit to new viewers? And pretty much the way Twitch responded was like, yo, we found the exploit you guys have been using for canceling your subscription and then resubscribing for half off, so we went ahead and fixed that bug. Oh, and as for adding any other people who could benefit from SUBtember, no, we're gonna keep it to first time subscribers. Part of me is like, yo, I know that they don't have to do anything at all. There are new people to be met. There are new viewers to catch the eye of, but I know where a lot of the streamers are coming from when they say, why can't this benefit people who've been there for however long, actually growing my channel, actually supporting Twitch? Why are they all being left out in the dust? My only problem with everything is the way it's been put from the streamer side of it all. It just comes off way too whiny. It comes off hella privileged. It comes off like we deserve the whole damn world, like we're making that much of a difference. And don't get me wrong, I know that entertainment is very important, especially during this time, but all streamers are simply people. And I don't know where some of us, and I do mean us as streamers, because I guess I'm part of the problem, even though I don't exhibit these behaviors or complain on the level that some others do. I will throw myself into the lumps of the problem because I am a streamer. With that being said, I don't understand where some of y'all get the gall to make the demands that you guys do. But I'm gonna go ahead and digress from the whole situation because I do have varying emotions. I have I guess a weird opinion of it all where I'm on the side of streamer Twitter, kind of. It's just the way they're demanding everything currently. That's annoying as hell and just makes us all look like babies. And speaking of babies, I actually recently just cried like a baby. Well, not necessarily. I know this is like one of the worst segments ever. But I recently read and went back to go check because I have HBO Max. But I recently read that Howl from Howl's Moving Castle says a very specific line to Sophie when they first meet, and it's, "There you are, my darling, I've been looking for you everywhere." And in the beginning of the movie, she's running away from these two soldiers who are pretty much up to no good. So when he says these lines, when he says these things, whatever, you play it off as him trying to be cool and make it seem like they're together or they're a pair and that these guys should bug off. But during I can't even speak, but during the last half of the movie, during the last act of the movie, and spoilers for Howl's Moving Castle if you haven't seen this underrated masterpiece in my opinion, when Howl is going through all... When Sophie is with Calcifer and going through all of Hal's memories, she straight up tells him, "Hal, meet me in the future." I guess she wasn't with Calcifer because she sees the making of Calcifer. Well, anyway, she straight up tells him in the past, "Find me in the future," and then the very first lines he speaks at the beginning of the movie is like, "There you are, my darling." I was like, bro, dude, I have chills. I even have like my hair standing up right now thinking about it. And when I went to go first see it, when I went back to go watch it, my heart just completely melted, bro. I did not actually cry like a baby, but I felt like one. And since I'm talking about a movie, I kind of want to start talking about my experience with new Mutants, because I don't think I talked about it enough last week. I don't even know if I talked about it at all, but if I did, I'm sorry. I'm going to repeat a small review here in a second. But before we get back into, media, before we get into movies and games and stuff, I kind of want to talk about one more thing on Twitch, because I was on this game show. I always mispronounce words on this show, and I don't get rid of them because when I go back to listen to myself, I laugh. So I'm sorry if that pisses anybody off, but it does get me going sometimes. Anywho, I was on this game show called the High Five Game Show. It's on Twitch, and essentially there are four contestants that have to answer however many, I guess you could say, trivia questions, and you get points based off how creative your answers are. And obviously you do get points for answering correctly, but it's more inclined to the abstract thinking of a quote unquote stoner. It was a really good time. I had a lot of fun. And I think I got really lucky being in the group that I was in, the three other streamers that I had the pleasure of meeting. Made the whole experience much more enjoyable because these people had me cracking up the whole dang time. They were genuinely funny, and I wasn't just laughing to laugh type deal. Like when something gets me going, I have to like gut laugh type deal. And it felt like that throughout the entirety of this show. We all had really great energy, really great chemistry. I kept bouncing off of what other people were saying. Like I could do my thing because everyone was so comfortable doing their own thing. I've never been on a show before. I've been interviewed before, I guess you could say, but I've never been a guest on a show. I've never been a featured aspect or a featured thing to a show. A participant is what I'm trying to say, excuse me. Well, I've never done anything along these lines, and having the chat there cheer me on and say stuff or react to when I was trying to be funny and actually think it's funny was one of the biggest ego boosts I've had this entire year. And it was needed, I think. Because if you were here last episode, if you listened to the end of last episode, I did get into a lot of dramatic stuff with my personal life. And this ego boost, this good time, the smile on my face, even now talking about it, was definitely needed. And even though I didn't win, that did kind of bum me out a little bit. I feel like I was the fan favorite because I was the one consistently getting extra points, and that's an aspect of the show where people can vote on which of the contestants gave the best answer or who they felt deserved more points for what they said. And like, despite not winning, it still felt good to see all those people react to me. And I don't know, I feel like I'm saying the same stuff over and over again. It was just a good time. It was a great time. Y'all should definitely check out High Five Game Show on Twitch and go back a couple weeks. You'll see my face, my ugly Pika Punch face. But also support the show in general because it was awesome. Since we're talking about stuff that you can watch, haha, see them segments there? Dude, I'm getting good at this. I thought I was gonna go a whole episode without commenting on my performance, but here we are. And yeah, I went to go see New Mutants the other week. And before you get mad as fuck at me for going outside during the whole pandemia, the pandemonics, the acrobatics, you know what I'm talking about. With the stuff going on outside, I know that people are very wary of doing any type of activities or going to any type of events, and I'm right there with you. I will wear the mask. I will wash my hands. I will carry around hand sanitizer. I will do everything, like keep 6 feet of distance apart, and then some. I will do everything I can to keep myself safe, my family safe, and predominantly my grandmother safe. With all that being said, I do feel, or at least I've gotten to a point in which I feel that we do need to be able to live our lives. So when I heard that theaters were opening back up, when I heard that New Mutants was going to be one of those first movies, at the theaters opening up, I decided to jump on that as soon as I can, because I need some type of normalcy. I know we have sports, I know we have UFC, which we'll be talking about pretty soon, but it's not enough. I don't have that option to go out, and a lot of you don't either. Neither do you. So at any chance that I can, I'm gonna make the most of it. And I personally think that theater did a great job at keeping everything safe and distanced and clean. There were sneeze guards up, those glass guards up everywhere. They didn't allow you to refill your drinks or your popcorn despite the size. And normally when you get the large popcorn or the drink, you can refill it for free, but I don't know why I'm getting mad at that, because I can't even drink soda or eat popcorn or any of that crap. Damn, dude, for a second there, I forgot I was on keto. And I don't forget every time I eat, because obviously, like, I have to keep up with the diet. But thinking back to that, I was like, yo, why the hell wouldn't they let me refill my popcorn? And it's like, oh, well, you didn't have any anyway, so what the hell are you getting mad about? I legit just had to stop the recording because I started laughing all stupid and took this long-ass flippin' pause. You know when I'm going on about the experience at the theater that the movie wasn't even that good. When I'm not even talking about the movie, you know that it wasn't that great of a flippin' time. So before I start my mini review of New Mutants, I guess I should say that spoilers, but don't go see this movie. Seriously, don't spend money on this film. In fact, only go see this movie if you want to support theaters and don't want digital releases to become the new norm, because that's why I went. I don't want theaters to close down. I don't want to not have the option to go to the movies anymore. You get me? So only go and spend money on this film if you're going to have that mentality. Otherwise, go see Raiders of the Lost Ark, like they were showing at my theater and I didn't go see, like a flipping idiot. Anyway, spoilers for New Mutants. This movie sucked so much ass. I wanted to love it so bad. I wanted to like it so bad, especially with Maisie Williams. And during the time that the movie was made, she was coming off of Game of Thrones hotness, so like it was a perfect thing, right? And then they had Anya Taylor-Joy also coming off of The Witch, and a powerhouse-ass performance there. And we had the guy from Stranger Things coming off of that, the older brother, the older Byers brother. So you would think that this movie would have all the star power necessary, and it just doesn't, dude. It doesn't work on any level whatsoever. There's one decent scene, and then there's like another okay scene, but the cohesion of it all, the structure of the film, the way it plays out, you've seen all of the movies that it draws from before, and all of those movies do it way flipping better. So the director not only struggles with giving you a specific tone to follow, because it's supposed to be a certain horror film, a superhero horror coming of age teen type deal, and it never settles into either pacing. You get me? Every horror scene that comes out of nowhere, it comes out of nowhere. Every horror scene that they inject into this film doesn't necessarily feel scary. It just feels like cheap thrills necessary for them to sell this movie to teens as a superhero horror movie. And even when it does kind of finally hit its stride, it doesn't necessarily hit a certain rhythm or anything, but you're settled into the movie, you know what's going on, and you can follow it. But once you get to this point in the movie, you wouldn't think that they would introduce another aspect that should have been introduced at the very beginning, like established at the very beginning. Specifically, I'm talking about the romance between the main character and Maisie Williams' character. They get it right off the bat that there might be something there. There's a budding thing there. But once we get to the third act of the film, it feels like their connection scene, their whole like little love kiss scene should have been done and over with because we're supposed to get ready for the action part of the third arc. You get what I'm saying? Like every Marvel movie has a third act in which stuff goes bananas, bonkers, whatever, the whole CGI spectacle, right? Literally right before we get into it, there's their little connection scene, which it was kind of cute, kind of like butterflies-ish. I understand where that's coming from. The scene itself isn't awful. It's just its placement within the movie and how far along we had moved along in the plot. Because going back to the horror scenes and that specific feel of teenage romance type deal, the very beginning of the movie feels that way after the first opening sequence. There is an air of mystery. There is an air of like, oh my gosh, what the heck is going on? Where is she? Who is she as in the main character? And even the introduction of the other mutants, the other peeps that are there feels very teen superhero ensemble movie. Like, hey, we got the cool kid and we got the pyro kid and we got the minor kid and all of this crap, right? Like I said, it's stuff we've seen before in other movies that have been done better. And once we get into the stride of the teen ensemble film, they start throwing in horror bits like at the very opening sequence of the film. I think the word I've been trying to search for this whole time is pacing. The pacing of it all feels entirely off because you hit certain beats and then it tries to go for other beats and then it tries to go for others. So it's like, hey, teen ensemble whatever crew that is about to have a bunch of growth together, but it's also a horror film, but hey, they're superheroes, so all the overcoming aspects and character growth that they're going to have are really just them using their mutant powers. And now that I've said it out loud, it actually sounds pretty cool. It sounds like an awesome concept that just wasn't done correctly. It doesn't do it justice. The idea is there, the execution is off. Even the direction wasn't all there. I feel that the dude from The Fault in Our Stars, his mark is all over the place. I felt like they got him to do this movie because whoever at Marvel, or I guess Fox at the time, because this was made under Fox saw whoever did Fault in Our Stars, said, okay, do that, but scary, and it didn't work. Honestly, this should have come out on Disney Plus. I know a lot of people who would have thought, hey, this is not that bad for a Disney Plus film. Maybe we should watch it together. But because it was a theatrical release, people are going to be that much harder on it, especially during this time. But I'll go ahead and stop rambling on about New Mutants. I feel like I've said literally everything I can say. The only thing else to add is that there were 3 standout performances in a really crappy film. Those being everybody that I mentioned earlier. Maisie Williams as the werewolf dog chick. I really liked Anya Taylor-Joy, I think that's her name, as Magic. She may have overacted a little bit, but you could tell she was having fun, and I was having fun watching her have fun. And then the last guy, which was the dude from Stranger Things, the older Byers brother, he had an awesome accent. In fact, all 3 of these characters had awesome accents. So if you're going to see this movie, aside from supporting theaters, watch it for these 3 actors' takes on the accents that they portray. So now that I've done a whole ass movie review, I feel like I could still talk about that movie. I feel like I haven't gone in depth as much as I want to. And honestly, I kind of want to talk about Infinity Train. I kind of want to get down on talking about Raised by Wolves because I watched the first episode of that. If you guys haven't heard of Raised by Wolves, it's a Ridley Scott made show, produced, directed. I don't know what he did, but I know he has a hand in it. And if you don't know who Ridley Scott is, he is of Alien fame. I was gonna say frame, but I was like, hey, there's no R in that word. Anyway, he's from Alien fame. He's directed the good ones, as well as the most recent Alien film, which is most definitely not one of the good ones. But yo, Raised by Wolves, essentially it's like these androids in space with human kids who have to raise these human kids, and then they come into contact with another colony of surviving humans. And I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know what else to say about it other than it's ridiculously sci-fi. There's a point in which they lose one of their kids and the android mother straight up starts howling. She just goes, "Ooh." Don't get me wrong, the loss of anyone, period, is tragic. I'm not trying to laugh at that. I'm just laughing at the reaction. Because how does but an android express emotion? Like, what in their memory bank would they have for them to express the type of, like, feeling that they were having at that moment? So, wolf, I think, is a great way to do it. Like a howl, that's a great way to express yourself. It just caught me so off guard because the planet that they're on is so barren and everything has like this dirty sci-fi feel to it that a android woman randomly just howling into the air really it made me laugh, not gonna lie. It made me laugh like it has been this whole time. But that's all I'm gonna say about that and stuff I've been watching, because we do have games to talk about. And since we're talking about Ridley Scott, I've been playing Alien Isolation again on Twitch. I think I mentioned in the last episode, but I am going through all of the quote-unquote greatest hits of the channel. I have this panel where I have all of the games punched that I've done on stream, so every single game that I've completed on stream. Well, not every single game, because I have missed a few. But there's a whole list on my Twitch page of the games that we've completed together, and I'm going back and doing every single one of those, because it's been roughly around 2 to 2.5 years on Twitch, and as much as I like buying new games, I feel like, one, I need to utilize the ones that I have more often and get more out of them value-wise. And two, because I've recently been getting that rekindling for streaming, because I've recently been getting that love back, I figured why not go back to the games that, helped me fall in love with streaming in general. Alien Isolation is the first on that list, so I decided to start with that, and I think I played it again last year. It's still somewhat fresh in my mind, but the parts that I don't remember still get to me. The parts that I still remember even got to me with all the tension it creates. The game is really good at providing that 80s aesthetic of space, providing that atmosphere, as well as creating the urgency of needing to run away, of wanting to run away from whether it be the androids or the alien, the xenomorph itself. Like, I don't want to give a whole ass review again of another thing, but it's well crafted, the narrative is fun, the character of Amanda Ripley is relatable enough. I feel like I feel for her more simply because she's related to Sigourney Weaver, but I don't feel like that detracts from anything because the experience is stellar, the gameplay is so good, and it essentially is more alien, more alien within the Alien universe, and who is going to complain about that? It's actually been good practice for being scared and being in a moment while also keeping conversations up in chat. I think going through all of these games again will help me with that skill and help me develop that awareness of two things going on, like being able to multitask is already a huge thing when it comes to streaming, being able to keep, 2 tabs of thought going at all times. But I feel like being present in both of them takes a whole nother layer of practice. And I don't mean to sound pretentious, and I don't mean to sound like streaming is the hardest thing ever to do. I'm just kind of like thinking out loud and giving y'all a little bit of insight on what I'm trying to develop on as a streamer. But before I go, before I go into another tangent, other than Alien, I've been playing a lot of Warzone. I know that game is pretty much old news, but with the announcement of Cold War and whatever it is, I guess the lack of good battle royales out there in the moment, it's hard to not want to go back to a Call of Duty game. There's something about the simplicity and the formula, the structure that Call of Duty has down, and it speaks for itself with all the sales. Obviously, it sells as well as it does because of how accessible it is to play, and because of, it's fun. Who doesn't think Call of Duty isn't fun? And if you don't, fine, whatever, that's great. I'm not trying to point you out, and I'm not trying to start an argument or anything, but more people like Call of Duty than don't, in my opinion, within the gamer space. But yeah, I've been addicted to Call of Duty again, to Warzone specifically, even more so than Fall Guys. I'm not even excited for Cold War, if I'm going to be completely honest. It straight up looks like another Call of Duty. Every Call of Duty looks the same, even that old World War II one. I know that there's an aesthetic change there, but not much else. The only thing I'm excited for Cold War is the campaign, because it's going to be a continuation of the first Black Ops campaign, and that's arguably the best, if not one of the best, Call of Duty campaigns, period. And like, the only reason I'm talking about it is in Warzone, there's a consistent reminder of the multiplayer reveal of Call of Duty Cold War. But I don't see myself spending money on any Call of Duty because you're giving me the best aspect of it with Warzone. I'm good with the free version of your game, so I don't know what you're going to do other than this campaign to get me amped up for Cold War. If anything, I'm more excited for the Doom Eternal DLC that's going to be coming out. I think it's called something like the Ancient Gods, and it's supposed to be a campaign DLC. We're not getting any multiplayer, which I think I'm totally okay with. And I know there's the whole Demons versus Doomslayer thing. I don't know if there's like team deathmatch or anything. I've never played the multiplayer. I've only controlled the demons in the parts of the campaign that they make you do that. And even then, I don't feel like that's there to be a feature of the campaign itself. I feel like it's there to entice you to play the multiplayer. But I'll digress, because I don't have too many nitpicks on Doom Eternal. They're coming out with another DLC. It looks cool. I'm excited. I don't know specifically when it comes out, but I know it's going to be at the end of this year, and I brought it up because I'm more excited for that than Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Black Ops, whatever it's gonna be called. I don't know, I don't care at this point. Since we're rambling, or since I'm rambling into releases, I might as well keep talking about new releases. And I haven't played it yet, but the new Avengers game came out, and again, I haven't played it yet, but the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster also came out. One of them's getting very to pretty decent reviews, and that being the Avengers game. The general consensus, or at least from what I'm getting from the reviews and the streamers I've been watching, is that the Avengers game is really fun, but it gets repetitive because of the structure of the missions. It's very been there, done that, beat 'em up stuff, just with characters that we're familiar with. I hear the campaign is a huge standout, which is refreshing as heck to hear, because normally the campaign is put on the back burner and all of the microtransaction, extra gameplay crap stuff like in games as a service type games normally have. Um, Crap, I forgot my train of thought. Well, all that extra games as a service stuff that they put at the forefront of those types of games, you would think would be the main focus, but hearing that the campaign is good makes me feel good about wanting to play that game. Unfortunately, I hear that the gameplay itself can be repetitive fairly quickly, and where all of the microtransactions will be coming in, because I hear something about having a season pass for every single Avenger, and I think that's stupid as hell, but we'll see how that ends up working out. We'll see if people actually pay for that, and then if the gameplay is good enough to keep its longevity, because if it's going to be one of these ongoing years on coming type games, then from what I'm hearing, they might need to work on it a little. As for Tony Hawk, I have not heard anything bad from that game other than the character creation, but games back then didn't have an extensive character creative slot thing anyway, so I don't see why that would be a huge pain in the ass for anybody. I know with a remaster, you're gonna want and expect quality of life updates, but the character creation, I don't know. There have been enough people complaining about it for me to bring it up here, but that's literally the only nitpick that I've seen anywhere online. I mean, it's literally Tony Hawk just on the PS4, the PC. It's Tony Hawk now for today's gamers that were young back then and old now and don't want to go back to mess up their memories of games that may not play as well as they used to. So it's good that we have remasters like this. Good remasters, you feel me? The last bit of gaming stuff that I want to talk about is, first off, the Nvidia cards that were announced. I'm pretty sure you've been talked to death about this, but essentially the 3080 that has been announced is essentially double the performance of a 2080 that's currently on the market. The 3070 is as powerful or more powerful than a 2080 Ti, which is like $1,000 card or something like that. But the best card, in my opinion, that they showed off is the BF GPU. So the big flocking graphics processing unit, which is the 3090, and I think that's also like $1,000 card, but I don't know how ridiculously beefed up it is. I just know that the specs on it are way over the top, and literally everything that's coming for next gen on PCs is blowing the next gen of consoles completely out of the water. And don't get me wrong, I am super excited for PS5. I'm excited for Xbox Series X and for what they're both going to provide the console gaming space. But I'm even more excited at putting one of these 300 or 3000 series bad boys in my PC, because for the longest time now, like, my GPU is my bottleneck. So, like, just thinking about it, dude, like, I need to swallow my saliva, man. I'm gonna start coughing again like I did last week, all stupid out of nowhere. Oh man, it's literally mouth-watering. I'm that excited. But something I'm equally excited for is the announcement of, and this will be the last video game thing before we get into a little bit of UFC and a little bit of personal stuff. I'm feeling about winding down today's podcast. But anyway, the announcement of Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So back in the day, in the olden times of Mario games, they had an All-Stars version, and they took all of the Mario games that were a contender for the best at the time and put them all on one cartridge to play. They are doing, as a Nintendo, are doing the same exact thing for today's age. They're getting Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy all on one playable piece of software or cartridge. I don't know if there's going to be a physical version, but I need it and I want it right now. Not only did this announcement come out of nowhere, it's going to be available in the next couple of weeks as well. And it kind of sucks because it'll only be available until March of next year or something stupid like that. They're trying to do that whole scarce availability, that exclusivity thing that Nintendo always tries to do. But I don't know if I fault them for it, because I know so many damn people who've already pre-ordered this, and I want to be one of those people, but priorities, you know what I mean? Personally, I'm gonna go ham on Mario Galaxy. That's probably my favorite Mario game of these three, I would say. I mean, N64 Mario, like Mario 64, is a classic, and it's always going to have that nostalgia factor for me. So even when I play it through rose tinted glasses, it's a good ass game. I just feel Super Mario Galaxy is a much more complete experience. And you could even argue Super Mario Sunshine as being one of the best, if not the best, but it's not my favorite. I mean, I adore Super Mario Sunshine, don't get me wrong, I think it's great, but I don't know if it compares to Galaxy or N64. But yeah, I didn't want to move on from gaming without at least mentioning the 3D All-Stars. I don't even have words. I'm literally choking up for how excited I am for this. And I think we also get Super Mario 3D World, if I'm not mistaken, with online play, and that'll be a flipping awesome time. Like, they really knocked it out of the park with this collection. But Nintendo isn't the only thing knocking stuff out of the park, or knocking stuff in general. I've been watching a crap ton of UFC, and they've been knocking each other out, I'll tell you that much. I'm actually going to go through this pretty rapid fire, because as much as I like going back and listening to my own episodes and my own recaps and whatnot, I don't want this show to be predominantly UFC recaps. So I'll do my best to keep this as brief as possible before ending on some personal notes. And yeah, so UFC, bro. Okay. Last week was a fight night, and this week was also a fight night. We don't get another pay-per-view event until the 26th, if I'm not mistaken, and that's going against Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa. But I'm actually more excited for the co-main event, which is Dominic Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz, if I'm not mistaken. Both are incredible light heavyweights, but Dom Reyes is possibly the only person to have been robbed by John Jones. Like, I genuinely feel he won the fight against Jones. And to me, Dominic Reyes is the champion. But we'll see what ends up happening, because we'll also have a middleweight champion that same night on the 26th. So, Mabi, I'll digress. This last weekend was a fight night between Anthony Smith and Alexander Rakic, something like that. The fights leading up to it were pretty decent as well. The Alexa Grasso versus the Kim chick, she did phenomenally, like completely dominated that whole fight. I'm always super impressed by the women's flyweight and bantamweights, like the women's divisions in general tend to showcase more skill, and this Alexa Grasso completely dominated all 3 rounds. I was really hoping that she would go for the KO, and she did try to go for the finish. It just didn't end up working out that way. This new guy, up-and-comer, Neil Magny, he's probably been around, but I've not heard of him. I don't know how many wins he's on, win streak wise, but he did end up beating Robbie Lawler, which is one of the UFC's toughest veterans, hands flipping down. That guy is no joke. You do not want to be in the ring with Robbie Lawler, because that guy's gonna probably brawl you to death if he could. But this Neil Magny guy really dominated Lawler, like completely outstriked him, jujitsu'd him, I guess you could say. No, out wrestled him. They used wrestling more than anything. And it's pretty sad to see Lawler go the way he's been going. I mean, he's still a great fighter. He's a little bit older. He's got a crap ton of experience. I would love to see him make another run at the belt, but his performance against Magny and how much this guy dominated Lawler really gives me less hope for what he can do from here on out. We already have a pretty stacked 170 division, and with this guy thrown in there, this Neil Magny, it's even more stacked. I want to know if this guy can perform with the other dudes. I want to know if he could like eke out or irk out a decision win like this, completely dominate or even finish some of these higher ups in the rest of the division. So moving on to last week's main event, Rakic and Anthony Smith. I didn't know this Alexander guy coming in to this fight night. I only knew Anthony Smith because I think his last loss was to Glover Teixeira, who was supposed to be fighting this coming week, but unfortunately got COVID, and now Michelle Watterson and Angela Hill are the main events, but I'll go ahead and digress from that. I feel pretty bad for Anthony Smith, not gonna lie, because this Rakic guy just demolished him the entirety of that fight. There was literally no point in which I thought, oh, hey, Anthony Smith's gonna have a comeback. Hey, this was a close round. Hey, there's no way that this guy's gonna beat him this whole time, right? No, I literally thought that the whole time. Like, Rakic took him to the ground, out-wrestled him, laid a crap ton of ground and pound on the feet, completely outstriked him, was overworked, overpowered, outmatched, outclassed, and completely dominated Anthony Smith for all 3 rounds. Rakic is absolutely no joke, and like light heavyweight again is another one of those super stacked divisions, and I don't know who he would fight next, because I was gonna say maybe the winner of Glover Teixeira and Thiago Santos, but I kind of feel at this point he should fight either or, whoever's available and whoever's willing to fight him. Glover Teixeira obviously isn't available at the moment because of that whole COVID thing, so, you know, maybe throw him Thiago Santos because he just snapped on Anthony Smith. Whatever it is they end up doing, it's hard to not be excited for the state of UFC and how everything is shifting around. Like, there's this whole changing of the old guard with this new fresh wave of talent. And it seems to be the overarching narrative of 2020 in general, where all of these old people, or not old people, but older fighters are trying to prove their worth, trying to show that they still have what it takes to be contenders or champions. And then you got this whole wave of like these fresh, up and coming, really new, exciting fighters that, you know, give you backflips and crazy punches and all that crap. And maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but these newer dudes do come with the flash. Like, this last fight night, which was last night, the third to last fight on the main card, I forget his name, it's like Michelle Pereda? I don't know if it's spelled with 2 R's or 2 H's, because I think they were pronouncing it like Pereira or something like that. He's Portuguese, or not Portuguese, he's Brazilian. I don't speak Portuguese, so I apologize, so I'm just gonna call him Michelle. But this guy was dancing around his whole fight. He was slapping this guy, his opponent, after kissing his hand, and he actually attempted doing a front flip kick type deal in the middle of the first round. Part of me felt like, yo, this guy shouldn't be playing around this much, he's gonna get knocked out, and part of me actually wanted him to get knocked out because of how much he was playing, but all of the quote unquote playing around that he was doing was backed up with incredible defense and phenomenal offense. This guy outlanded this guy, his opponent, who was predominantly a boxer and then finishes the fight with a choke. There's a little bit of scandal with the choke because apparently the fighter may not have tapped, but the fight was pretty much over anyway, and it seemed like he was either going to tap eventually or get slept pretty much. And I know I've said this, but I'm telling you, dude, that welterweight division 170 is stacked as hell, because that guy was also 170. But moving on to the co-main events between Ovens Saint Preux and Alonzo Menifield. OSP is a beast. He's been around for a little while, and Alonzo Menifield has also been around for a little bit, has been making a pretty decent name for himself. I didn't think this was going to be a good matchup for him, though, because Ovens' power is ridiculous, and he has an over-elongated reach, especially for dudes at that weight class. But Alonzo Menifield definitely showcased why he's at the level that he's at, why he's fighting a contender like OSP. And it's because this dude definitely has hands. This guy can definitely fight. He was just no match for OSP. This guy kept trying to come forward without moving out of the way of any counters, and because OSP has a ridiculously strong front kick, it was hard for Alonzo Menifield to kind of move on the outsides of it, and was straight up caught on the chin during one of the exchanges in the second round, and was completely knocked out cold. It was a fun fight. It was a cool fight. It seemed a lot closer than it sounds, but I also didn't see OSP not winning that fight. Moving on to last night's main event, Alistair Overeem knocked out Augusto Sakai. So Sakai is an up-and-coming dude. He's 29. He's a heavyweight, has ridiculous hands, is mostly known for his boxing prowess, and came from the Contender Series. Even being knocked out, even losing this fight, I still see him as a prospect for the heavyweight division, and I only see him improving going forward. Like I said, this guy's only 29, and he's got time to improve within the division for sure. The same does not go for Alistair Overeem, though. We're talking about a dude who's been around for 20 plus years. He's 40 years old himself. He's had other championship belts before, just not with the UFC. Coming into this fight with Sakai, he straight up told everybody that he doesn't have too much time left and he wants to make another run for the belt. Straight up, though, I don't see it happening for him. As much as I like Alistair Overeem, as much as I think he is a badass, most of his losses come at him getting knocked the F out, and the dudes that he's been knocked out by are the tip top of the heavyweight division right now. He straight up survives fights, I'll give him that, but I don't think Alistair Overeem has a heavyweight chin. He does get knocked out. Every time he loses, it's by a knockout. And there were a crap ton of times during this fight with Sakai that he would get rocked, and he would need to utilize that kickboxing cover-up method type deal in order for him to not get messed up. But the thing with that type of clinch is or that cover-up, I should say, is if you throw straight down the middle, you're not gonna get too much cover-up because of the small gloves that they use. And I know that's details, and I know I'm talking about fighting as if I know what the hell I'm talking about, but you can't fix a chin. You get what I mean? You can't fix how hard you can get hit and react to it. He's already 40 years old. He's already been knocked out by the heaviest hitters in the heavyweight division, and he has to go upwards toward those dudes in order for him to get the belt. Now, realistically, if he were to go for a run, if this was it for him, he would need to win maybe 2 or 3 more fights. Who the hell is he going to win those 2 or 3 more fights against? I sure as hell do not see him beating Derek Lewis. I don't see him beating Curtis Blades, And Francis Ngannou's best knockout is against himself. What makes you think that Overeem can even make a shout out or a call out at Stipe right now? Like, there's no way he would beat Miocic, especially with how good he looked against Cormier and how okay he looked as an Overeem against Sakai, who's not one of the top ranking dudes. But I'm gonna go ahead and slow it down, like way down here on the UFC, because I feel like I'm hella winded talking about it. I'm getting really excited, and I need to wait, well, another couple of days until the Contender Series. I didn't even talk about the Contender Series whatsoever. But like I said, let's go ahead and wean off of UFC for right now. I got a couple of personal things to talk about. So if you don't want to hear about any of my dramatics, then you can go ahead and get on. I will not fault you. I will see you in the next episode. But if you're here and you're sticking around for me to get into my melodramatics, then I appreciate it. I don't mean to get y'all excited for nothing, but there's really not many updates on that situation that I talked about last episode. Things are pretty much coasting by the same way. I'm still going really strong on keto. I've been getting kind of annoyed with the dishes that I've been needing to make for it. Like, keeping up with it has been starting to get a little much. And it's not even so much that I need to cook for myself, because that hasn't changed or whatever. It's just the specific parameters that I can enjoy food in. Like, all of the fatigue I've been experiencing has been through the repetition of making certain dishes, or having to make certain dishes in a certain way so that I could have all my fats and not too many proteins and whatever it is. I guess what I'm trying to say is not necessarily the cooking aspect of it all, it's keeping up with the macros. The macros themselves are starting to take their toll on me. But even when I do start to get this feeling, even when I do start to feel overwhelmed, I'm seeing results, so I can't really be that upset about it. I've definitely been thinking about how the hell I'm gonna go back to incorporating carbs into my diet. There are definitely behaviors that I've learned that I could utilize in eating well in general. And I think I've said this before, I've definitely said it on stream before, where I don't recommend keto for a long-term way of lifestyle, for a long-term eating type deal, for a long-term diet, there we go. I think it could be used more as a tool to see how much you can lose, and all of the behaviors that you have learned through the process of losing that weight, you can then use in just everyday life so that you don't gain that weight again. And I am sure as hell not trying to gain that weight again. I can fit into a couple of shirts that I wasn't able to fit into anymore. When I flex, it's super noticeable now, especially in the mirror. In fact, it's only noticeable in the mirror, because that's the only person that sees me, is me. Right? I guess people on stream see me too, but I don't flex for people on stream. You know what the heck I'm trying to say. I feel good, I'm eating good. I think I'm starting to look good. Streams are going really awesome. I know I talked about that a little earlier, but that want to create again, that feeling of excitement before hitting going live and seeing everybody talk to me in chat and being able to react and share the experience of whatever game I'm playing, getting that rekindling, that love again is doing me really well. Like, I never thought I would reach the point in my life again where I would be excited for the next day and what I could do that following day to make the day after that much better. And I know that sounds super lame. I apologize for that sounding super lame, but that positivity is infectious, especially when you surround yourself with people who are also doing things, who are also on that upswing. And that is a nod to my friends. I do have really good friends and family. I have a really good support system. So I haven't even been thinking about that jerk ass person that kind of did me dirt. I think this is going to be the end of today's podcast. It was a good episode. I think they're always good episodes. That's because I make them. So you should let me know what you think of them over on all of my social media. You can find the podcast's Twitter over at Podcast Punched over on the Twitter Bluebird platform. And you could also find me there at Pika_Punch. You could find me over on Twitch at Pika_Punch. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel or wherever you're listening to the podcast, I would very much appreciate if you did, because I have a crap ton of fun making these, and I really hope you have fun listening to them. So we will be having Plantain Trip on next week's episode, and I will see you then.